won't surprise you, e-commerce is the biggest trend. And I'm sure we can talk a bit more about that without going into too much detail at this point. But if you look at development in the logistics sector, the demand is generated, changes to requirements from tenants. I think e-commerce is an extremely important factor. But there's probably other trends as well, such as the logistics sector becoming more mature, which has an impact on demand from the tenant base. You see that tenants are rationalizing more. There's increasing supplies pressures on the supply chain, which also has an effect on the type of assets that are being required by these tenants. So more demand for larger warehouses, more modern warehouses. You see that third-party logistics suppliers, that there's an increasing rate of outsourcing in the market. There has been an ongoing trend of consolidation in the market, and so this means that there's a requirement of a different type of warehouse than you might have had 10, 20 years ago.
A couple of things maybe on the demand, and Richard briefly touched on that. The first one is, back to basics a little bit, location. Strategically located modern warehouses are going to be key for efficiency, cost optimization, and supply chain efficiency in the future. So that's really key, and we learned this the hard way the last 3-4 years. The second thing is, and here is where I disagree a little bit with Richard, is that we're seeing a decoupling a little bit from the demand side and the GDP growth, or the economic growth, where demand from the logistics sector is mainly coming from more structural drivers. E-commerce, of course, is one of them, but consolidation, globalization, supply chain reconfiguration, constantly shifting to adapt to new market conditions, irrespective of what the economy is doing. Obsolescence is driving demand for logistics, real estate, and we've seen this also the last 3-4 years, where growth in Europe have been negative to sluggish at best, and where demand has kept up and occupancy kept going up and vacancy shrinking, obviously with no supply also in the market.